All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Deep End. This is lucky number 17. I don't think that's actually a lucky number. It just kind of rolled out. But all right, my main man. This was like one of the first times we actually just came into the stream, hit record, and I haven't even gotten the chance to ask you yet how you're doing. So how you doing, man? What's going on with you?
First of all, I gotta say, Ron, it feels good just to jump right into the deep end because usually we spend a few minutes just chatting away. But I think the reason why we had to jump right into this one is because we got news, and I'm excited to share this news with everybody out there. Ron and I have been over the last couple of weeks doing a lot of work trying to make sure that we are able to get this community to the next level. And I think we did just that yesterday. And so, Ryan, you want me to break it? You want to break it?
So we'll tag team this one. The gist of it, guys, is we actually have joined forces with one of our favorite investing platforms and also one of our favorite investing communities at Blossom. I'll let Ari break it down from there, but like I said, we have joined forces with these guys, and I couldn't think of a more fitting partnership than with Blossom. So why don't you dive into the details, Ari?
So, just inviting everybody real deep into the deep end at this point. Ryan and I decided to go ahead and partner, team up with, join forces with Blossom. If you don't know what Blossom is all about, talk about an investment community that is building like crazy. It is the Blossom community. And Ryan and I both jumped on the Blossom app, and we've seen what's happening inside the app. We absolutely love it. But the reason why we decided to join forces with Blossom is because we really do think that the app has the ability to take us all to the next level by helping us all really connect as investors to fellow investors. Whether you're a day trader out there, passive income investing, ETF investing, dividend investing, all these investors are on Blossom. And so Ryan and I see this as literally the way forward in being just powerhouse connectors with everybody else out there to get everybody to the next financial level or their next financial goal. So here we are now today, guys, moving forward. The deep end is officially now brought to everybody by Blossom. I couldn't be happier. Ryan, how are you feeling about it?
Man, same. Absolutely the same. Like I said a few moments ago, I don't think there was a more perfect fit for us. I think I've been on the Blossom platform since like November 2023, and so about a year and some change now. And I think when I was first got on there, there was maybe 50,000 or 60,000 users, and now I think they're up over 250,000, maybe getting closer to 300,000. So the community has really grown, and the main reason why I think it's such a good fit for us is because the company's mission and what they're all about is really just empowering investors, encouraging investors to connect with one another. Because as we all know, it's kind of a lonely world as an investor. As we talked about last week, actually, we spent the whole episode last week talking about how investing is a lonely journey. So I think it's a really great place to connect with other investors who are on the same path as you, and also gives you the opportunity to learn from others as well and see how others are investing. And that's one of the cool and very unique things about Blossom, is that it has this like social media component to it, where you can obviously chat with other investors, post about whatever your investment musings are, but it's also like a portfolio tracker, and you can see others' full portfolios over there. If you guys want to check it out and see actually my portfolio and Ari's full portfolio and all of our trades in real time as they occur, there's links to that in the description of the video and in the pinned comment. You can download Blossom and see all of that action over there. But Ari, I think you were about to say something, so I'm sorry.
I'm happy you mentioned last week, Ryan, because the reality is we really went into the deep end last week about community. And I don't think anything happens, without, real rhyme or reason, with someone pulling the strings behind the scenes, right? Like, no coincidences in this world. So I think we had this amazing chat last week, and it really, as as we actually closed this deal to join the Blossom team really just the other day, the only thing I had on my mind actually was our last deep end chat, because it was all about community. And so I'll say, I haven't been on Blossom as long as Ryne and a lot of other creators. And you know what? I regret not jumping on Blossom earlier, because it was mentioned to me by Numbers with Nina, if anybody saw that Masters of the Market chat. And I was like, yeah, Blossom, like, yeah, okay, like whatever, another thing that I have to, join and build. But it wasn't until the Vegas conference, Ryne, where I actually met some of the Blossom team, and I was blown away. And then I met some other creators who showed me through the app, and I was like, wow, like what a regret not being on there. But I'm excited to now officially like rock and roll with Blossom, because guys, Blossom is actually like just there to tell Ryne and I, keep doing your deep end thing. There's no rules here. Like the deep end's not going to change, because what we're really trying to just build together is the community, and we want to make it authentic. And so I think that in of itself to me was like just a wow factor. And not to mention, Ryne was sharing how you could just see people's portfolios now. Like there is no hiding, and you shouldn't hide. Like, just to go back quickly to our conversation last week, you shouldn't be hiding talking about your finances to the public. If you're a creator and we get a lot of creators. I'm sure everybody has like one or two creators in mind on YouTube or whatever platform. They talk a big game, but how the heck do you know if it's in their portfolio? That was like one of my questions. And now like this has just solved that problem. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy, my portfolio is out there for everybody to see, track in real time. Ryne's is as well. Like, it just makes it that much more real, I think, for all of us to be like, oh, Ryne and I aren't just talking about these stocks. They're actually invested in these stocks. And so that level of transparency builds a even tighter community. And it does all go back. Like, if you're feeling lonely, as we were talking about last week, ever since I got on Blossom, I think they have a max, like, I don't want to call it a tweet. It's like Twitter and Instagram having a baby. It's Blossom.
Yeah.
Right. That's how I always say it. But they have a max like that you can tweet out. I can't say tweet out, but like, like post
like
out.
Characters or
no,
no.
I think you get like 5 posts or 6 posts a day, because they don't want people spamming everything.
Oh, okay.
So I always get like blocked out of it, because I actually post a lot on there. Like, I love it. But I'm doing that because I'm just looking to connect with more investors, and I think this is it. I think this is the future, and I'm so happy that last week we had the conversation, and now here we are today with Blossom.
Well, it's because the reason you get blocked and the reason you post so much is because all your posts are "Hey" with like 4 Ys, just "Hey," and then the next one is "I'm bored," and then the third one is "Why is nobody responding to me?"
Oh man,
Nah, I'm just joking. I'm just joking, guys.
You
actually put out some really in-depth posts on there. You type away on those things.
I kind of use it as like Twitter almost. Like, I'm just spewing my thoughts. Sometimes my thoughts are on that tagline, like, "Hey, like what's going on?"
I was totally just messing around with that, guys.
To some extent, but today I did post something like that actually. No, look, this has reinvigorated my energy in terms of like how I feel about just rallying the troops to invest. And I've just been speaking to a lot of people since last week, and even the comment section, like I was reading a lot, the comments, even, the comments that came in while we were live, like people don't have a community.
Yeah.
And they don't, I don't really have anybody to go to. I go to Ryne a lot. Of course I have fellow creators, but like you have to have your community. And now I'm just happy that like we're here building it.
I completely agree. And I want to know your thoughts on this, but that exact thought right there was one of the big, and I've talked about this before, but that exact feeling is one of the big reasons I started my channel, is because I felt like I had no one to talk to about this stuff. And I was so excited about it that I just needed to put something out there and just talk about it with someone. I ended up just talking about it to a camera and turned into something cool. But that was one of the big reasons I initially started just doing all this, because it is a lonely journey. And man, it was just a yearning to have people understand, why I'm so excited about what I'm excited about. And it is super cool, to your point about the comments that we get on these videos and on these episodes, the live chat that we conversations that we get to have with you guys when we do these live streams, which have been so much fun. And even just the stuff that you see on Blossom too, it's so cool to see people getting excited about investing. It's so, no matter how big or small, like just if we're talking dividends, no matter how big or small the dividend payment is, even if it's like 50 cents, I just got my first 50-cent dividend from SCHD, whatever it is. I just think it's so cool to see people getting excited about this stuff, because you can almost, especially when it is those smaller numbers, and you can tell it's coming from like someone who's newer on their investing journey, you can kind of start to see the light bulb get a bit brighter when they're getting excited about this. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I've been missing out on this thing for so long. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I was so intimidated or scared to start doing this that I put it off for longer than I should have. Now that I'm finally on this journey and finally getting going, I can kind of start to see the light there at the end of the tunnel. It's just really cool to see that metamorphosis take place in real time, and just to see people get excited about this stuff and realize that it's not as scary. It doesn't have to be as complicated or super intimidating as maybe a lot of people think it is prior to getting into it. And I think that more of those conversations and more people putting themselves out there in that way is really what it's going to take to continue expanding this investing community and getting more people to start doing this. Because two things are true when it comes to investing. Number one, everyone has to do it. Actually, let's say three things. Number one, it's something that everyone has to do no matter what, or else you're going to be just stuck in your job for the rest of your life. We've talked about that so many times here in these episodes. Number two, maybe it's just two things. It was three, but I forgot one of them, to be honest with you. The second thing is, once people do get started, you'll hear everyone say this: I wish I would have started sooner. And what it takes to give people the courage and the motivation to start is just seeing other people do it. And I think it's great.
Well, it's cool. Like, what I really think is amazing is the fact that you can, and I've had so many messages come in on Blossom, like a direct message. So if you see someone because they posted something about a strategy or whatever recent gain, like, you can literally message them. And I've been having conversations with people through Blossom all day long, and I just, it's really something. And Ron, it makes me think of, like, before we started this podcast, The Deep End, and like we were just kind of like beta testing everything on my channel on like any given Thursday.
Yeah. Right.
One of the things we were talking about was like, where do we want to take this? Like, where do we want to go with The Deep End? And Ryne and I have the same goal. We have the same goal for starting YouTube. We have the same goal for why we produce content. We have the same goal for like even when it came to like, do we want to partner with anybody for this? And then when we came across like Blossom, like on our radar for something of this magnitude, it was like no brainer, because it goes back to the idea of like, we're looking to help investors as much as possible and connect investors and empower investors. And, to Ryan's point, like, not everybody's going to invest, unfortunately, but everybody should be investing. And this is, I think, like, I go back to Vegas, Ron. I keep going back to that conference because I as everybody may know, if you were, watching the Deep End weeks ago when I was in Vegas and traveling throughout the States for business, I was, I work in the industry, so I'm in rooms full of a lot of financial advisors, and this is no bash on the financial advisors who are out there. Maybe one or two of them, or I don't know, dozens of them are out there watching this, so I'm sorry. But like, for the most part, financial advisors have no idea what the heck they're doing. Like, they're going to conferences and they're going to speak to firms, learning about certain products, and then selling you on them. I'm just gonna like blanket statement that like it's really, really scary. And when I went to Vegas and I saw and heard firsthand like what I was sitting in listening to, I was like, oh my goodness. Here's where Ryne, guys like me and you and all the other financial creators out there who feel an obligation to be real with people, and also communities like Blossom actually come in. And I won't say, like just Blossom's like the all perfect app, right? Like Twitter, you can go on Twitter and also find amazing people on Twitter and communities on Twitter. Blossom's just an app where it's only finance and investing. So it just makes it like super niche and unique. But what I'm getting at is like, this is the future, in my opinion. Connecting with other investors, because it's the question I always ask on Masters of the Market, and I usually ask this question to the quote-unquote professionals. How do we know who to trust? And so you, like I was saying before, you could talk a big game, and Ron, I actually want to talk about that a bit. Like, talking a big game. When you ever meet someone who, like, when you're talking about investing and they're like, yeah, do this, and options or that, or leverage this and that. And it's like, well, did you ever do that? Or how much money have you actually returned from that strategy? And I think it's like this is now, talk about really leveling a playing field. That's what Ryne and I wanted to do with the deep end. Let's literally bring hundreds of thousands of people together through the deep end.
We're working our way there.
Yeah. If everybody just subscribes right now, we will be just one subscriber closer by each and every one of you.
Exactly.
But look, it blows my mind because it's like I'm still trying to get to the bottom of that. How do we know who to trust? Because I'm, as many of you may know as well, like I'm studying for the Series 7 right now. You want to hear something crazy? This is going to blow your mind.
I'm ready.
I'm studying mortgage-backed securities right now, or the last chapter I was looking into, and just collateralized debt. And at the end of the manual, or at the end of this chapter of collateralized debt, very risky, right? First of all, it starts off the chapter saying it's supposed to with the quotations, be a more conservative investment.
Is that because it's backed by collateral? Is that why it's supposed to be more conservative? Correct.
But then it's funny because we expect, and we're going to assume, which you know what they say about assuming. I'm not going to, you make it an ASS out of you and me, right? But we're going to assume that everybody does the right thing and then pays their debts. Okay, doesn't really always happen that way, which makes this now a little riskier. And then we're going to assume that everybody in the financial industry, takes care of their, ASSs and everybody else's ASSs and does what we're trying to do, Ryne, help people. And then at the very end of the chapter, it concludes by saying the vast majority, according to FINRA, the vast majority of financial advisors do not understand how to explain collateralized debt and securities of the alike, or debt obligations of the alike. And I'm sitting here saying, what the hell are these people selling it then for?
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to when I was at the conference, that same thought was there. Because I listened to people on a stage talk about certain investment products. I've watched the financial advisors write it all down. And then I talked to them afterwards to see like what they got. It's like regurgitations of what was shared so they can go back to the masses of investors and sell them. And I say outright, like, damn shame. And that's why we're here. And that's why I'm stoked to just build this flipping channel the way that we're building it. I'm stoked to be here every single week with everybody because I know for a fact that the industry is moving in a direction where guys like me and Ryne, who are going to be real, and guys like whether it's people on Blossom or wherever else you're going to find authenticity, who aren't going to sell you crap to try to make a fast dollar, that's the direction we're heading in.
Yeah. In an industry of chaos and confusion, we want to be the opposite. We want to be calm, cool, and collected, and also break things down as simple as possible. Especially like coming from a place of never, coming into all of this stuff, starting from scratch and just being a simpleton myself. I need things to be as simple as possible. And I need things to be as digestible as possible, because that's the only way I'm going to actually understand it. And I do like this trend, going back to what you were saying. I do like the overall trend. It seems that, and it's seemed this way for years, probably since, I don't know, I guess probably since like Robinhood came onto the scene and initiated commission-free trading. Like there's been a push towards democratizing investing. And I think that's fantastic. And it's, I don't know, hearing what you were saying about your experience with the financial advisors and the people you were brushing elbows with here in Vegas at that conference. And I remember we talked about this when you were here. It left me feeling a bit conflicted, because on one hand, I was there seeing all of it. We were at the coffee station by the breakfast buffet thinking, and I was thinking and saying, man, I would love to be like invited to a conference like this. I feel like this would be a really fun couple of days, especially too because there were other events and stuff like open bars the night before at the Pinky Ring, and there was a lot of fun stuff going on that made me think, man, this seems like a lot of fun. This seems like a really fun weekend. I'd love to be a part of something like this. But then again, on the other side of that, if being invited to those type of events or taking part in those type of events means that you have to kind of be a part of that world that I have just so much skepticism for, it's just not worth it. I'd rather not be a part of it. If that's all that over there that you described, if that's what it means, that I'm good. I don't want to be a part of that. I'll leave that there. I don't know.
But you know what? The reason I want to be a part of it, and I hear you. The reason I want to be a part of it is because I want to be a change agent. Like
I think that's fair.
I just tweeted the other day, like you can't lose. Check this out. You can't lose if your primary goal is just to leave the world a better place than you found it. And that's how I think. That's how I feel. Like, when I worked in real estate, I just started managing buildings, throughout Manhattan, and my goal, and I managed two of the most iconic towers in the financial district of Manhattan. And that was over 1,200 units. I felt like the mayor of a very small city, and it was a lot of fun, and it was just an amazing, amazing experience. And I just ran with the notion of like, yeah, I know I'm working for the owner, which the owner has his own goal, his own MO is cut costs as much as possible. Obviously, then I'm working for the owner, and so my obligation is to go by the owner, right? But then I'm also really working for the residents as well. I'm like this middleman. And so how do you satisfy both? And so it's just do the right thing. Like that was in my mind the whole time. Just like do the right thing. And when someone comes into your office and, kind of schmoozes with you and is bull crapping around about whatever just so they can get, a storage unit at discount price, or, I'm just trying to think, free window cleaning, any of these Manhattanite things. You just have to be real with them. Be like, look, like we're friends, like I'm here for you, but like that's not how this goes, right? And we're going to do the right thing. And when there's real problems that happen and I have the authority then to actually help you in a capacity that you're going to need it, that's when you're going to want to use me. And it was the same thing with the owner. So it was like there's no blurred lines, black and white living for me. Do the right thing. And I took that same type of mindset. Now I'm in finance. And the reason why I love, I was at the conference, I was listening to everything, I was talking, I was just collecting. And I got really fired up because I have the ability to be in this industry and that's an honor for me. How am I going to make it better than I found it? And I think that's cool, man. And it starts here. Dude, it starts with God. Like, I already have these ideas in mind, which, by the way, I'm just going to disclose it now to everybody. Like, you want to know what I'm planning? I'm planning on throwing massive events at the NASDAQ and inviting the retail investors out there to come join companies that are going to the NASDAQ or going to the stock exchange to ring the bell. Because if you're an investor in these companies, you should be there, and you should have a grand time with the company that you're like. That's where I want to take everything. And man, I just realized how fired up I am about this. I don't know where this is coming from, but it's just, man, it's just such an honor. It's an honor to even be on the deep end as, you know, a co-host with you, Ryne, and like just be real with people. Like, this is what it's about.
It is good to hear some of the inner workings from the other side, like through you. It is good to hear that. And I would imagine too, like in saying that, you know, you want to leave the industry better than you found it and you want to do the right thing. I'm sure a lot of these people who maybe, you know, don't know what they're doing or what they're selling or just regurgitating information, a lot of them probably, and I could be wrong, I could be totally wrong, but I would imagine, you know, those people aren't all evil. I'm sure that they more or less feel the same way and want to do the right thing and want to do a good job, but maybe just don't know. Man, maybe they think they are at the end of the day. Maybe that's what it boils down to. A lot of them think they are.
You can't even, I don't think you can blame them. Like,
yeah,
a lot of these folks don't even know. They're trying to, like you said, they're trying to make a buck, right? Like, that's their job. And I think the real problem is deception in every industry. And if you're not intentionally living, first of all, then what the hell are you doing? But second of all, you're going to go to work and do your job for you. And that's not a way to do a job.
So I think this goes back to a really important question that you brought up a couple times so far is, like, who can you trust as an investor? Who can you trust? You know, maybe there's some deception over here, and in any industry, sure, there's some snakes in the grass. And even these people that we're talking about who maybe think they're doing the right thing, but are selling some really scammy stuff at the end of the day, maybe you can't trust them either, even though they think they're doing the right thing. So who can you trust? Like, as we're going through this conversation, I keep coming back to that question. And I really think, and even comparing that to ourselves and the people on Blossom and the YouTube comments on Seeking Alpha, anywhere else, on Twitter, at the end of the day, I really think the only person that you can trust in this investing space is yourself. The only thing you can trust is your own judgment and your own gut, your own convictions. And this goes back to, what was that?
I'm trying to look through my notes as you're talking, because I literally, okay. We had a whole chapter on just financial advisors, right? And it's just so true. Like, the only person you can actually trust when it comes to your finances is you, because even if you have an advisor, he or she is getting paid off of the transactions that they're making for you. And so there's a massive conflict of interest. And it just, I don't know. Ryne, can we just blow this thing up to like get financial, don't call it financial advice, financial suggestions, or just like financial insights into the minds of everybody? Because I'm tired of people not knowing finances and investing and the importance of it. But more so, I'm tired of people just getting screwed over.
And it's changing, man. I think, especially with this younger generation, because I'm seeing a lot more of it today than I did even a couple of years ago or a few years ago. I'm seeing a lot more younger investors getting into this. You know, we got into this, I don't know exactly when you started investing. I don't remember. It was your early 20s. It was somewhere in college was when you first kind of got going with this, right? For me, it was like 26 years old. And I even think that was young. Like, yeah, I even think that was early to start investing compared to a lot of what I see around me. But in doing this and having this podcast and having my own channel and just spending time in this space, I'm starting to see it skew younger and younger and younger. I'm starting to see early 20s be a lot more common. I get comments all the time from people who are like, I just started investing and I'm 22 or I'm 21 or, you know, somewhere in that age range. I get emails sometimes from people who are like as young as 13. I did a portfolio review on a video earlier this month from a kid who was 13 years old and investing. And he's not the only one. There's a couple of them. There's a few of them in the community. Furthermore, we've got a couple of individuals. I got to shout out my man Nathan. I got to shout out Jack Murphy, who are in their, I think, teens and maybe, I think Jack maybe is 19 or 20. Nathan, I know you're watching, Nathan, but I don't remember exactly how old you are. I think you're somewhere in that range as well. Nathan's 21 because he just came to Vegas. But you're seeing people of that age range, and I think Jack's maybe 19. I think he's a freshman in college, 18 or 19. But now you're seeing people that young starting channels and starting to put themselves out there even more. And so I really think that you're seeing seeing this shift, and the gears of change do turn slow. And these younger investors, I think they're turning more to platforms like YouTube or Reddit or Twitter or StockTwits or TikTok, for better or for worse, by the way. There's some good that will come from it. There's some bad. But in other words, what they're doing is they're taking matters into their own hands and they're trying to learn about this stuff for themselves. Unfortunately, a part of that is going to be like blindly following what other people are doing. There's no way you can completely eradicate that. But still, like that maybe for some of these people is a part of their journey, and that's something that they have to go through to learn the hard way, for lack of a better way to phrase that. But you're seeing a lot of people just take matters into their own hands, and so I think that you are learning that, or you are seeing more people come to the conclusion that really I can do this for myself. All I can really trust is myself. So let me just go out there and do this. And in the process, they come to find, like, you know, this really isn't as complicated as maybe I thought it would be, or my parents think it is, who have a financial advisor, or my grandparents who were doing this, you know, started doing this 50, 60 years ago when there wasn't this much access to information, and it was a lot harder to be an investor then. So I do think that you're seeing that shift, and I think, because we're not always right, like we try our best to always do the right thing and put out good information. But these people coming into this investing stuff, especially who are younger, are seeing regular average Joes like you and me start to do this for ourselves and figuring this out for themselves. And I think that helps them feel okay about doing the same thing.
You know, Ron, I was laughing earlier as you were speaking because I guess this is a good time to let everybody know that every email Ryne has received from a, you know, adolescent or whatever has actually just been me saying, "Hey, Ryne, I'm 13. I'm 13. Here's my portfolio." I couldn't help but share that. No, look, you're.
I can't believe it, man.
All 20...
I don't even want to know what other weird stuff you're into in your free time, but.
Well, aside from those blossom posts, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny, dude.
No, look, I think, you know, you're absolutely right. I think you hit the nail on the head, and I think what's also hard now what's going to be harder for the industry to keep doing is tuning out the voices that are now using megaphones. And like, whether it's the guys you just mentioned, Ryne, or me and you, or anybody who's out there who's literally a microphone in front of them, right? Like, we now are kind of saying, you know, like, I'm the captain. I'm the captain now. You know, like you guys, your show's up, the gig's up. I actually had on. Man, you want to hear something cool? I had the other day. I was interviewing someone from Masters of the Market. His name's Bob Coakley. He actually was the guy who discovered the Call Me Daddy Girl podcast. Like, he was the one who discovered her name's Alex, I think. I don't know her last name. But he discovered Alex. and just like a funny story to just, he was flying. I think he was flying back to the East Coast. He was on a business trip, and she was dating, some baseball player at the time, and so sitting, up front in the front of the plane, and like he struck up conversation with her, and they just had this banter or whatever, and then he was like, "You'd be good for a podcast," and he introduced her to a couple of people, and like boom, now we get like the Call Her Daddy podcast. But first of all, that just goes to show, like, don't undervalue those around you in your network. Like, you never know who you're going to meet, talk to. It's an investment, folks, to open your mouth and just start talking to people. Can't tell you how many times, even where I am today, it's just because I just opened my mouth, Guess I'm a big schmoozer.
Was that a connection that you made in Vegas?
It was. And those guys aren't advisors. Those guys are on a different, side of Wall Street. But the guys I connected with, anybody that I bring on Masters of the Market is not because of any other reason other than like we shared a personal connected story, and I said, you know what, this guy's got something of value, and he's not money driven. And those are the people I like to have on Masters of the Market. People who are like really in for like just selling their product and the money. I don't want them on, and therefore it's like I have the retail investors on, but I do want to bring guys from Wall Street on, or women, because they have something to offer. It just has to be the right person who's not like, they have something to offer, but they're not shoving it down your throat, so to speak. Anyways, with that said, so I was talking to Bob. Bob was a commodities trader, and he was sharing all these stories. But what was interesting is we actually did talk a little bit about this. And, what he was saying was like, these days, first of all, there's ETFs. ETFs have changed absolutely everything because, talk about being diversified and just throwing money into an ETF and not really having to worry about it all that much. ETFs weren't around, 30, 40 years ago. Like, that wasn't a thing. So we're already talking about a different game. But we continue to talk about, like, how things are evolving, how it's changing. And, like, anybody can go online or go to Blossom or reach out to me and Ryne or Twitter or, like, wherever and connect with people to get the help that they need and to redirect themselves in the right direction. I just think that's so cool. And I think that's what's bringing power back to Main Street, bridging these gaps between Main Street and Wall Street. I think that's really cool. And I think it's cool, Ryne, that like we get to have this conversation right now and like be a part of that construction crew bridging that gap.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One thing that comes to mind as you say that, I think it's really cool that I think this podcast kind of can offer both of those perspectives a little bit of the Wall Street stuff, a little bit of the Main Street stuff, and I think we blend that together pretty well. I was going to ask you though, let's look 10, 15, 20 years into the future. How do you think that the blending of the two will look down the road? Do you think that, and what role do you think financial advisors will play into the future? Because it kind of seems like what we're getting to is over time they're becoming less and less important, and maybe less people are getting into investing are choosing to go with a financial advisor. So how do you see the entire industry changing 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road? And how do you see Wall Street blending more with Main Street, with the retail investor, with, like you were talking about earlier, the people who have the megaphones now? What do you think all that looks like?
Such a great question. I just started reading a new book, The Revenge of the Tipping Point, and it's an epic book just talking about like societal shifts, and it like starts off with like talking about a bank robbery and spins that into like all different directions. Anyways, the reason I bring that up is because I feel like we are at a tipping point, and I feel like what the industry is about to turn into is completely different than what we've ever seen, it's going to be the retail investors ultimately with the power. Because we're going to keep connecting. And the more we keep connecting, the more we're going to weed out the fraudsters. And the more we keep connecting, the more we're going to put out of business, the Joe Schmo, financial advisor who's like going just to learn sales tactics. Because I got to be honest, I would bet that 90% of those listening out there do more research on strategies than the financial advisors. Now that's a small pocket, because obviously if you're watching this channel and following Ryne's channel and mine and others, like you're already in the game of investing and active. But for the most part, when you start getting your hands on information and then you start connecting with other people and you're getting everything for free, you start to realize that these middlemen are there for no reason. They're actually just like sucking your money out of your account. And so I don't think in 10 years, I do think there's going to be a smaller market for them for sure. There will forever just be people who are like, I have no idea and I am not going to even attempt. But I think as the applications, I know there's a new company out there. It's called Prosperity. The guy who, the CEO and founder, his name is Mayer. He used to head Seeking Alpha's head of marketing, and I was over at Tip Ranks. So we got really friendly and close, and we still are in touch. I just spoke to him the other day. I had a guest pop on his podcast that he's creating. But this application that he's creating, it's called Prosperity, and check this out. It doesn't just invest for you like we've seen in the past, right? Like an Acorns type of thing. It actually will prompt you through, hey, we think these stocks might be of interest to you, and here's why. Which one do you want to go with? And it's starting to literally empower an investor. And I just think as we see more applications like that, ChatGPT becoming your best friend, so to speak, investors who are now creators, who are sharing their journeys and not in it for the money. Because check this out. No matter what, like Ryne and I have our channels and we produce videos and people watch the videos. We don't, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think Ryne does it. I know I don't do it. I don't solicit funding from any viewers. So you're getting it for free, which means that all that power now comes to, I think, us and the empowered investors who are out there soaking in that information. We're going to come together and be like, we don't need this pocket of advisors.
Do you see a situation in which, let's say down the road, some of these, because I feel like ETF companies these days are just now a dime a dozen. There's so many different fund creators out there. Do you see any reality where, and there's probably some legalities behind this, but where someone like a State Street or maybe not a Vanguard, but some of these companies that, or even a Defiance or something, any of them, pick any name out of a hat. Do you see any situation or any reality where they start coming to different finance creators and say, hey, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, and say, hey, we want to create a fund, an ETF around your investment style. You are basically going to manage this fund and promote it to your audience, and we'll give you a cut of the fees or something like that. Do you ever see that being a thing, or is there too much red tape involved there, do you think?
I'm going to spin this web in a different direction and say what the firms are doing is they're listening. People wanted more monthly ETFs. Okay. People want weekly. Okay. We'll make it happen. We'll build the tools. Just like any other company does that, right? You go, what does any inventor do? He doesn't just wake up one morning, he's like, I'm going to create this, right? It's like, no, something happened in his or her day that was like, if I can make this easier, how would I make it easier? And then he's like, oh, okay. And then applied thinking and boom, you get product. And that's what's happening in the financial world, where Wall Street really is listening because we have to. We have to. Because if we're not listening right now, and at this point I have to say work because I'm on like the other side, man. I'm on the other side of the street. But like, if you're not listening, you will lose. Now there's a problem here. And the problem is there are still people full of crap. Just there will forever be Ryne salesmen full of crap. And there's a good saying, I always used to say this to, reps when I was a sales manager. Always be careful, because a fisherman can always see a fellow fisherman from afar. And when you're in negotiations, or when you're like in any aspect of your life, you're in a sale, really. Let's be honest. Everybody, in every interaction you ever have, you're in it for a certain reason. It may not mean you want something. Well, technically, like, you want joy, right? So you're going to go, let's just dumbify it. You're feeling alone on any given day.
No.
And then you pick up your phone and you reach out to somebody. Did you really want to say, hey, how are you? I genuinely want to know about your day? Or did you do that because you're alone? And so right there, like, that's the sale. It's like, so I say live a very, very intentional life. And when you start living very intentionally, you're going to realize that everything around you is because people are listening. I mean, Siri's listening to me right now, right? Like, Alexa's listening, tapped in. Like, how many times have you spoken about something and saw something then on Instagram or an ad somewhere, right? Like, okay, so Wall Street's doing it. Every creator that puts out a video and then scrolls through comments, and it's like, boom. It's like, okay, now we know what people are looking for. So how do we build it? And so what ultimately is going to happen, and this is why I'm just super stoked to be working in the industry, Ryne, because, at least the company that I'm running with, one thing, the reason why I wanted to dive in with them, with the team, is because they said, we recognize you're a genuine guy, and we want to bring that to the market. And that, I mean, I get mushy, but like, that melted my heart, because, like I said, I want to be a change agent. And so I've sat at tables with the millionaires and even a couple billionaires. I'm not afraid to speak out my opinion and my voice. I'm authentic. I'm real. I know that no matter how much money you have in the bank, whatever your stupid title is, you're just a human at the end of the day.
But you don't think any of these companies, with that said, any of these companies would ever be like, all right, we're ready to make ticker symbol Ari? Or, you know what I'm saying?
And invest, and then build a portfolio based on what Ari is or what Ryne is.
Based on Ari's own portfolio that he puts out there for the public to see, that has this that's been publicly shown for now years at this point, so we can go back and look at the historical returns. You don't think that that's the direction it's heading? Or like ticker symbol ticker symbol Ari, or ticker symbol Ryne, or ticker symbol Ian, or ticker symbol Russ? You don't think that that's a direction that they'd go down?
No, but they will go down. They already are going down the direction of, working with creators, just like any other, influencer marketing and all of that stuff. And they're doing it in a way in which, they're not, at least the people I know. Mm-hmm. Again, like, I don't want to run. This is like so important not to get caught up in the bad apples and the bad mix of people, right? So when I made the decision to work in real estate, I chose a firm that was around since the 1920s, that the firm started because they saw the need of fair housing Like, right? So I wanted to align myself with those types of people. When I found my way into the financial industry, same thing. So I just say, like, align yourself with high quality, ethical people, and you will ultimately end up on a path of ethics and quality. I don't think the industry would necessarily head, because that then we're basically saying, like, even if you have this track record, like Ryne's track record, and you're like crushing it, I think maybe they would use you in a capacity, but to call the I don't even think you would want that, to be honest with you.
No, I was just going to say that. I wouldn't even want to. I think on one hand, it sounds like a really cool thing, like to have your own ETF, your own fund where the ticker
It's like
symbol is just your
Kevin did
name.
that.
I know. I think the idea is cool, but on the other hand, like I don't want to be responsible for anyone else's like financial future. I'm just trying to manage my own. That's about all I can handle at this point. So I don't and I just like, could be wrong about so many things. So I don't want to be responsible for someone potentially like losing money or like having to delay their retirement because I made a wrong decision. I don't want that responsibility. So yeah, even if that were a thing, I wouldn't want to be a part of it.
Let me ask you this, Ron, because I made a video the other week. I'm like down to like one video a week at this point, man. I'm studying so much, and then work and everything else. But I made my video, and then someone commented, and I said in the video, I'm not making this video for entertainment purposes. I'm not here to just entertain you. And then someone commented in the comments, and they said, it's my first time on the channel, like, great channel, but first time I've ever heard a creator say, like, I'm not here for just entertainment purposes. And I said, that doesn't mean that you should, like, take my video and then all of a sudden act on everything I say. Don't be an idiot. Like, just throw that out there, like, directly. Do your own due diligence. But, like, I can tell you that even when it comes to the deep end, even when it comes to Blossom, no matter what I do, I'm not here to be a clown.
Yeah, totally.
I am here so at least one person might be able to get an idea, have a spark of an idea to then run in a direction that will help them, those around them, and hopefully future generations from what they have done. And so while I present it, maybe it's entertaining and fun and like we do it together and whatever, but like I don't want to waste my time or your time. And I just think it's ridiculous when all these creators like, not financial advice, but, right? It's like the word but erases the first half of that sentence regardless. And so no matter what we're doing, we're really all sharing suggestions and ideas. How do you feel about that, Ryne? When you're making videos?
That's a really great insight. I agree with you, and I think this just goes back to how value is created on these platforms. What is the value of watching and listening to the Deep End or my channel or Ari's channel or anything else? And there's more than one way. Like, you're going to get a different type of value from watching like Aswath Damodaran compared to like watching Mr. Beast. Like Mr. Beast, pure entertainment. You're not going to probably learn anything from watching Mr. Beast. On the other hand, Aswath Damodaran, you'll probably learn a lot. It's probably not going to be as entertaining or, as maybe as interesting as watching something like Mr. Beast. I like to think that, but the good thing about that is, let me just say this, the good thing about value is that it can be found in more ways than one. I like to think of it as kind of a mix of both. Like I want you to enjoy watching my videos. I want you to enjoy listening to these conversations. I want it to be entertaining enough and interesting enough that you'll continue to do so. Because I don't want it to be stuffy. I don't want it to just be like so boring and dull and dry that even though there may be some information, some good insight in there, it's just like watching paint dry or pulling teeth just to get you to extract that information. I don't want it to be so boring that you feel that way about it. But then on the other hand, I don't want it to be so mindless that the only value there is entertainment value, which has its merit, but it's different than informational value. And so I think that there's a room for both. I think there's totally a way to have both at the same time. And I try to keep both of those things in mind when doing anything. I think that hopefully this is entertaining enough to watch and listen to and sit through, and it doesn't feel like pulling teeth, but hopefully you get something out of it too.
I feel like if you're at 55 minutes deep, it better not be watching paint dry.
I know. And with that said, man, I hate to abruptly switch gears, but we do have a really good question, kind of as we're closing this up. And this actually is a great segue because I do think that this is a good opportunity for us to offer some value. I got a really good question from my friend Robert, actually over on Blossom. He sent me a message the other day and asked, do you have any advice for new dividend investors? He specifically was asking about dividend investing advice. Yeah, so why don't you roll up your sleeves there?
They're already
Crack your knuckles and give us your best
We give
insight.
it-
What's your top tip for Robert? What's some advice that you can give him?
Can we
just
get a
starting out?
profile on Robert? Do we have any information?
I don't have much information on him.
Picture, a
No.
photo, maybe anything on this guy? It's just Robert.
Just
Rob.
Robert Williams. No relation from what
Our boy.
to me from yeah.
All right.
So general
have-
dividend investing advice.
I have. I'll take this with two different approaches then, just so I feel like I'm gonna give Robert and all of those watching the run for their money. If Robert is an early 20-something investor, or even 30s, I would say really orient yourself towards dividend growth. Begin to be very selective on dividend growth stocks. Think long term in the growth potential of that dividend. Also, you're going to get nice appreciation with the company itself, because you don't want to go for the visas right now at a young age. A company that's just trading, I think, sideways for the last few years, and while you might get that sex appeal of the dividend, you just got to realize that at such a young age, you don't really need to go for the stability in the income just yet with a Verizon type of play. Now, if Robert is on the older end and he is looking for more stability and his risk tolerance just isn't really there, can't afford to take, jump in the deep end and take the risks that some of us younger investors can, then go for that moderate to higher yielding dividend stock. And I'll leave it at that, because my approach, man, I mean, I think everybody's known, I have changed so much as an investor over just the last 3-4 years of doing this deal. And I don't regret starting off, jumping into an index fund. I don't regret then floating out of the shallow end into the deeper end with dividend stocks. But I'm sitting here now saying, if I share something with other people, it's not do what I did. It's not like, oh, I had the way, do exactly as I did, go with. No, it's actually, this is what I knew, and because I didn't have anybody, it was the only chess move I felt I could make. But if I had a me, I don't think I would have invested the way that I invested, Ryne. I found Andre Jick, and to be honest with you, I don't think Andre Jick is that great of an investor. Did I just say that, right? Like,
I don't even know anymore. I don't even know if he shows his portfolio anymore.
I don't think he shows his portfolio. He went all in on like a lot of Bitcoin stuff. What Andre Jick is phenomenal at is content creation. And he is just a machine. But and then the reason why his portfolio just like revved up was because his content started making him a lot of money, and then he, what I like to say, feed the beast or feed the machine. He was able to feed the machine that then generates the profitability of his portfolio. And so when you might be looking at Andre Jacobs, oh yeah, like invest like him, but like I don't think he's a great investor. I think he's a great content creator. And when I start to look around, and I think Ryne, we talked about this not before a deep end chat. It was actually like, just a random time and day, whatever. We were talking about how people go about investing and you don't know on or off screen like what they're actually doing and how they're actually investing and when they're making their moves and like all this other stuff. And so what, like, the drier the content, not the drier, the simpler the content. Usually the guys with the bells and the whistles and the this and the that, and they would like, it's like, you know what? My channel has ultimately become me. Yeah, I have some B-roll stuff, but it's ultimately now just me sitting in my freaking kitchen talking to you about stocks to buy because they're undervalued or at least at fair value. And Ryne, you're in like your office area, which like the next apartment I move into, I'll get a little office area like you, but like there's no bells and whistles in this. We keep it simple. We share suggestions. And the reason I'm sharing all that is because don't be fooled by dividend yield. Don't be fooled by anything other than what you need to be focused on, which is your investor profile, the risks that you can afford to take. And if you can afford to take risks, you better well damn near take that risk while you can, because the only thing in life that will happen is if you think it's hard right now, dude, I don't know what was in this coffee, but like I'm on a different level right now. If you think it's hard right now, wherever you're at in life, like for me, I'm a single guy. I got a dog over here. I don't even anybody can see the dog. I got a dog over here. Like I'm doing the Series 7 stuff. I'm helping, on the career side and YouTube and like doing all these things. But like add in a wife and add in kids. It only is going to get harder. So take the risk now when it's easier. And if you're already a father and you're already a husband, well, guess what? You're going to become a father of a teenager or a mother of a teenager or a grandfather, or like it's only ever going to pile on more stuff. So that risk that you have, that time right now that you get to take some risk because you're young, don't waste it on the visas of the world. Throw your money into the dividend growth players. But if you don't have that much time and you can't afford that risk, then you have to play it a little safer. I hope that helped, Robert. That was a long-winded answer. I apologize. Something in the coffee. Ryne, I'll pass it to you.
A lot of passion, man. That's what I like to see. The best advice, this doesn't just apply to dividend investing. This applies to investing in general. And this actually ties into a lot of what you were talking about too. Generally speaking, if you don't understand it, don't invest in it. That can apply to individual companies. That can apply to ETFs. That can really apply to, or even to like entire investment strategies. And the thing about being a brand new investor, if you're anything like me when I first got into it, you're soaking everything in. You are a sponge at this point. You are watching everything that you can get your hands on. You're reading everything. It's also new. It's also interesting. And you'll be exposed to a lot of things that you've never heard of before. And part of you thinks that you want to, do it all, or kind of go in all these different directions. But I think what you'll come to find is, as you get deeper and deeper down this road, is that there's just a lot of complicated stuff out there. And just sticking to individual stocks and ETFs, for the rest of this, there's going to be a lot of companies that you'll hear about. You'll hear YouTubers talking about them. You'll read about them on whatever website you're on. And people are going to be singing the praises of those companies, of those funds, especially if they're like high yield, weekly paying ETFs or, leveraged inverse Bitcoin ETF, something like that. You're going to be exposed to so many of those things. And you have to be honest with yourself about whether or not you truly understand it or you don't. And this goes back to something that Warren Buffett talks about a lot, called your circle of competence. And just imagine you have a circle. Everything inside of that circle are things that you understand, and that's what you should stick to. Everything outside of the circle, it may seem tempting, it may seem enticing, but if you don't understand it, if you can't grasp it, it's not meant to be in your portfolio. You have to play the games where you know the rules. And like I said, this applies to any type of investing, whether it's dividend or otherwise. Just stick to what you know. And I actually think in doing so, you'll find that this investing game becomes a lot more fun to play, and it becomes a lot less stressful if you're actually just putting money into things you truly know and understand and care about. Otherwise, it becomes a lot harder to sleep at night if you don't know where you're putting your money. So I'll leave it there. That's probably my best piece of advice. And you'll know. Sorry, I said I'll leave it there, but keep going. It might take
Yeah,
some
I'll leave it
time
there.
to
Pick it back up.
yeah, pick it back up. It might take some time to establish your circle of competence, and sometimes in doing so, to find out what you know, you also have to find out what you don't know. So there can be a roundabout way to get there, and that's totally fine. But yeah, as fast as you can, I would work on developing that circle of competence and figuring out the areas or the companies or the funds that are within your wheelhouse and just sticking to those.
I want to actually just walk back a comment about Andre Jick. And I agree with everything, Ryne, you said. I just want to walk back this comment because I feel it's actually important. Andre Jick is a great investor because he stuck to his strategy and got more money and stuck to that strategy, and it worked. But he's not a great trader, obviously, because he's not a trader. But where I want to go with that is over time, Andre Jick also evolved. And I would imagine that very similarly to me, if Andre Jick had an Andre Jick in his life, he may have invested differently. And that's, I think, what I was saying earlier. If I had someone like me in my life, like Andre Jick only knew what he knew, which was dividend investing. And by the way, like I remember watching one of his videos when he got his new house. In Vegas, maybe. I think he lives in Vegas, right? Yeah. So he got his new house and he put it on YouTube and the whole experience. And it was cool because he was just sharing like he didn't have anybody to go to for investing. And actually the reason why he wasn't buying all these, rental properties and this and that was because it's outside of his circle of competence. And so it really all goes back to, Ryne, what you were sharing. And I think that's where like we really are in a unique position because, Ryne, I know you've gotten this a lot. I've gotten it plenty. So many younger investors, even older investors, have reached out sharing like, thank you for creating the content that you're creating. I relate to you. I connect to you. What's your opinion on this? What's your take on this? And when we get those messages, I don't like that. That's the biggest paycheck I can ever receive in the world. And so, Andre Jick, if you're watching this, I'm walking back my statement. You are a phenomenal investor. And I think we all need to learn more from each other quicker. And I think we all need to be a little bit more open-minded. And this brings me to this point. I have investors on Masters of the Market, whether they're trading on margin, whether they're real estate investors sometimes, whether I had a day trader who was at, $60,000 in debt, bumming in his parents' basement with a wife and like felt like a complete waste of life and started day trading and actually then over the course of like 6 months to a year became a millionaire. So I don't want to discount anybody's story. I just want to learn from everybody. And I think we're doing, all of us, myself sometimes included in that, a terrible flipping job of learning from other people. Because if I had a me in my life 10 years ago, like I said, I would have been an entirely different investor, but I only knew what I knew. I only knew that going into the stock market and just opening up an IRA and putting my money into an index fund was what I should do, and that's safe, and that's going to eventually get me to millionaire status. And then I learned from Andre Jick that like there's this cool thing called dividend investing. And then I started interviewing a lot of the hedge fund managers and the CEO, and they taught me how to think about the market differently and open my mind and broaden my horizons. And I'm like, wow, right? So don't discount people. Learn from them. Challenge yourself to grow every single day. And if you can afford that risk, take the risk. Take the risk, because eventually you're going to get paid in one of two ways. You're going to get the ROI that you've been looking for, the payout, the big payout, or you're going to get a degree from the University of Hard Knocks, and I don't know which one is better.
Haven't heard that phrase for a while. That's an Ari classic.
Yeah. A graduate.
Yeah.
Honor roll, baby.
Nice, man. Well, I think this is a pretty good place to wrap it up. You want to take us into the end zone?
Oh, I would love to. Investors, first of all, let us know what you think about this episode. Really, I'm dying to know and learn your thoughts on everything that we spoke about. So comment down below. I also want to know, like, what do you guys want us to talk about here on the deep end? Do you guys want us to bring guests on? Do you guys want us to talk about certain topics, or do you have a bunch of questions for us? Like, drop it all in the comments, because Ryne and I are literally here for you. And with that, we want you all to be here for us. So actually join us in the deep end by hitting subscribe. Join this community. Of course, we're now teamed up with Blossom. So again, those links to follow both Ryne and I and our portfolios and our trades and everything that we're doing, those links are down there in the pinned comment description. Investors, we love you all. We're excited about the journey ahead of us. We'll catch you all next week in the deep end.